Welcome class, time for Unit 5.5 notes, fill in the blank notes. So again, go get your notes, the fill in the blank notes, something to write with, and let's get to work. Let's get this done. Unit 5.5, anticipating the arrival of the day of the Lord. Before we jump into the notes, we need to take care of a term. The term there is busybodies. It's a translation of a Greek play on words, referring to those who were not busy working, but busy meddling, poking their nose where it didn't belong, causing trouble when they should have been busy doing something productive, working with their hands. We are to be busy, yes, doing productive things that help other people, but we are not to be poking our nose in and causing problems and being a busybody. Being a busybody is not a positive thing. Now, to the notes. The way of this world is to get even. If somebody does me wrong out in the world, if somebody hurts me or injures me or says something bad about me, or the way that unsaved people normally want to take care of that is to get even, to give them payback. Okay? The way of the world is to get even, but that is not the way that we are supposed to handle things as believers. In fact, Romans chapter 12, 17 and 19 says that we should leave it to the Lord. Leave vengeance, leave payback, leave recompense to the Lord. Put it in His hands and let Him deal with it. Rather than us trying to find a way to get back at that person, the Christian response is to leave it to the Lord. And there will be a time when there is providential payback, when the Lord makes things right. Providential payback. Paul wrote 2 Thessalonians shortly after the first letter, and the Thessalonians were suffering persecution. It was not easy. In the first century, here, as Christianity is spreading and going out, they're a minority, they're looked down upon, they're being persecuted. So they're seeing all this injustice done to them, and they're wondering, when will justice be done? When will things be taken care of? Now, Paul writes them here, and we're in 2 Thessalonians now. God in righteous judgment would recompense, would pay back those who are persecuting them, their persecutors. And that is referred to as the day of the Lord. A day of the Lord, a time when God will judge the world with righteous judgment. Day of the Lord. Time when God will judge the world with righteous judgment. 2 Thessalonians 1:5. Judgment will finally fall on those who have refused to obey the gospel, those who have constantly rejected the gospel. There will be a payback day. There will be a payday for them, for those who have refused the gospel and for those who have persecuted Christians. So the day of the Lord. With that in mind, we should do some sincere self-examination. Judgment for those that reject the gospel, and where do we stand? Where are we in all of this? Now, there's a time coming when there will be a man of sin known as the Antichrist, who will exalt himself doing fake signs and wonders, and he will deceive many, many people. Antichrist. There in parentheses, the man of sin. He will exalt himself doing fake signs and wonders. He will have power, and he'll be able to put on a great show. Now, Paul is writing this to the Thessalonians because the believers in Thessalonica thought that the day of the Lord had already come. They believed that this day, this great day, had already come, and they were having a hard time putting it all together in their mind. So, Paul writes this letter, 2 Thessalonians. He wrote this second letter, and it was written shortly after the first letter. He wrote this to counter that error and to remind them that no, the day of the Lord has not happened yet. The resurrection of the dead hasn't happened yet, and it's not the time of the Great Tribulation yet. Now, the world then and the world now is full of sin and wickedness. But before that day of great tribulation, before the day of the Lord will happen, there are some things that need to happen. Before that time of great tribulation happens, there will be a great apostasy. There will be a great falling away of many who have professed Christ. They will turn away from the faith. And then the second event that needs to happen, second thing that will happen before we find ourselves in those days, is that the influence of the Holy Spirit will be taken away Right now, the Holy Spirit is still active. The Holy Spirit is still convicting people of sin. The Holy Spirit is still drawing people to Christ. Before this great time of tribulation, before this time of great falling away, the influence of the Holy Spirit will be taken away, taken out of the world. And Paul explains all these things as we go through 2 Thessalonians. So the question is, examine yourself. Take a look at your life, and are you among the faithful? Are you? 1 John says, if you love me, you will obey my commandments. If you love me, you will obey my commandments. That's one of the markers that 1 John puts out in his letter, his short letter there. That if you love Jesus, you will have a desire to do what he has commanded us to do. If you don't have that desire, if you could care less, if you couldn't give two figs about what Jesus has told us to do and what he wants us to be doing, then it's time to examine yourself and to see where you stand. Serious things to think about. Paul didn't write these things to scare people. I'm not going over these things to scare people, but eternity is a very long time. Where will you spend eternity, and with whom will you spend eternity? That is something for you to ask yourselves. Until the next time, and we finished up. I believe that this unit has 5 sections in it, and so be looking for future assignments, and I'll be giving future directions for what you should be doing next. So keep these study guide notes, keep these reading notes with you. Please don't turn them in. They're for you to keep. Until next time, have a good day.